The ancients called it ruach. The Greeks called it pneuma. It is the breath, the wind, the invisible force that separates the living from the dead. They say that when this force, the Holy Spirit, dwells within a human being, the very architecture of their soul is reconstructed. But in a world of noise, emotionalism, and counterfeit spirituality, how do you truly know if he is there? Is it a feeling? A shiver down the spine during a hymn? A moment of peace? What if I told you that millions believe they possess the Spirit, yet are walking through life spiritually hollow? History is littered with those who claimed the power of God but lacked his presence. From the false prophets of the Old Testament to the charlatans of the modern age, the deception is vast, but there are signs, ancient, undeniable markers left behind in the text like fingerprints at a crime scene. Today, we are not looking for feelings. We are looking for evidence. We are going to decode the 7 unmistakable signs that the Creator of the universe has made your body his temple. And be warned, the 6th sign may deconstruct everything you thought you knew about faith. This is not just a list. This is an autopsy of the human soul. Let us begin. To understand the magnitude of the Spirit living in you, we must first understand the terror of his absence. For thousands of years, the presence of God, the Shekinah glory, was dangerous. It was contained. It dwelled behind a thick veil in the Temple of Jerusalem. To approach it without blood sacrifice, without the specific lineage of the priesthood, was to invite instant death. The Spirit would come upon men like Samson or Elisha for a moment, for a mission, and then would lift. King David, terrified after his sin with Bathsheba, prayed the most desperate prayer in the Psalms. Do not cast me from your presence, or take your Holy Spirit from me. He knew the Spirit could leave. He saw what happened to King Saul, who was left tormented by the silence of heaven. But then, the timeline of eternity fractured. At Pentecost, the promise of the prophet Joel was fulfilled. God did not just send a message. He moved house. The fire that once burned on the altar of stone now descended to burn in the altar of the human heart. According to Says 19, delivers the most shocking claim in human history. Do not you know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? This was a metaphysical revolution. You are no longer a biological entity wandering a lonely planet. You are a carrier of the divine essence. But this brings us to a terrifying question. Jesus warned in Matthew 7 that many would say, "Lord, Lord," and he would reply, "I never knew you." How is it possible to claim the name but lack the Spirit? Because religion has learned. The Spirit is given. One is a mask, the other is a metamorphosis. So, how do we distinguish the mask from the true face? We look for the 7 signs. The 7 signs of indwelling. Sign number 1. The divine hunger. The first evidence of life is appetite. A corpse has no hunger. A living man must eat. Before the Spirit enters, the human soul is satisfied with the dust of the earth's status. Pleasure, distraction. We are like the prodigal son, eating the pods meant for pigs. But when the Ruach enters, the palate changes. You experience a sudden, inexplicable dissatisfaction with the world. It is the psalmist's cry, as the deer pants for streams of water. So my soul pants for you. My God, this is not a casual interest in theology. This is a desperate thirst. You find yourself waking up with a song of praise. You find the Bible, once a boring history book, suddenly reading like a love letter addressed to you. If you have lost this fire, be careful. Lukewarmness is the climate of a dying soul. But if you feel that ache, that hollowness, that only his presence can fill rejoice. That hunger is the Spirit calling out to the deep. Sign number 2. The weight of conviction. This is where modern psychology and biblical spirituality diverge. The world says, do what makes you happy. The Spirit says, be holy, for I am holy. When the Holy Spirit moves in, he brings a light that reveals the dust. Singy ones justify the white lies, the secret lusts. The quiet prides suddenly become unbearable weights. This is not the accusing voice of Satan, which says, you are worthless. This is the convicting voice of the Spirit, which says, you are better than this. come out of the mud. Look at Peter. A fisherman. Rough, impulsive. When he denied Christ, he didn't just feel bad, he wept bitterly. That brokenness was the Spirit at work. If you can sin without feeling anything, you are in grave danger. But if your conscience has become a loud sensitivity alarm, do not run from it. That pain is the sensation of a heart coming back to life. Sign number 3. The inevitable metamorphosis. You cannot house the Creator of the universe and remain unchanged. Galatians 5 describes the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience. Notice it is called fruit, not works. A factory produces works mechanical, identical, forced. A tree produces fruit organic, inevitable, alive. You do not force yourself to be kind. The Spirit changes your nature so that kindness flows from you. The man who was once angry finds a strange calm. The woman who was once anxious finds a fortress of peace. If there is no change, there is no Spirit. The evidence of the root is always in the fruit. Sign number 4. The frequency of the shepherd. We live in the age of noise, algorithms, notifications, 24-hour news, cycles all designed to drown out the inner life. But Jesus said, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me." When the Spirit indwells you, you develop a new sense, a spiritual hearing. It is rarely a thunderclap. It is the still small voice that Elijah heard in the cave. It is an inner knowing, a check in your spirit that says, "Do not go there," a nudge that says, "Speak to that person." The Spirit is the navigator. If you are navigating life solely by logic and emotion, you are walking alone. But if you are led by an internal compass that sometimes defies logic but always leads to truth, that is the Spirit of truth guiding you. Sign number 5. Supernatural love. This is the litmus test. It is easy to love those who love you. Even the Heiligste, the people of Matakan, do that. But the Spirit empowers you to do the impossible. To love your Judas. Romans 5:2-5 tells us that God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit. This is agape love, not a feeling, but a decision of the will empowered by God. Think of Stephen, the first martyr. Stones crushing his bones, blood running into his eyes. His last words were not a curse, but a prayer. "Lord, do not hold this sin against them. That is not human. That is divine." If you find yourself forgiving the unforgivable, loving the unlovable, you are operating on a power source that is not of this world. Sign number 6. The Divine Commission. This is the sign that often shakes people. When the Spirit enters, the trivial pursuits of life, accumulation of wealth, fame, comfort begin to taste like ash. You feel a pull, a gravity, toward a purpose greater than survival. Ephesians 2:10 says we were created for good works prepared in advance. The Spirit does not just save you from hell. He saves you for a mission. Moses at the burning bush, David in the pasture. You, right now, listening to this, that restlessness you feel, that sense that you are wasting time, that is the Spirit agitating the nest, forcing the eagle to fly. He is calling you to the front lines. Sign number 7. The anchor in the storm. The final sign is perhaps the most precious. It is a faith that defies circumstances. The world thinks faith is for sunny days. The Spirit proves faith in the hurricane, when the doctor gives the bad news, when the bank account is empty, when the relationship ends. The natural human reaction is panic, despair. But the person filled with the Spirit experiences the peace that passes all understanding. It is the paradox of the burning bush on fire, yet not consumed. It is Paul and Silas singing hymns in a dungeon at midnight. If you have walked through the valley of the shadow of death and found that you are not alone, that is the undeniable proof. He is with you. We have examined the signs, the hunger, the conviction, the fruit, the voice, the love, the purpose, the faith. But now, we must face the reality of our time. We are living in an era of cultural Christianity, a faith of stickers and slogans, devoid of power. The Apostle Paul warned Timothy of a time when people would have a form of godliness but denying its power. Are we not there? Many assume they have the Spirit because they prayed a prayer once, or because their parents were believers. But the Spirit is not a family inheritance. He is a personal invasion. If you looked at these signs today and realize, I am empty. I have the religion, but not the fire. I have the ritual, but not the relationship. Do not despair. Realizing you are asleep is the first step to waking up. The Holy Spirit is not a prize for the perfect. He's a gift for the desperate. Jesus said in Luke 11, If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask him? The invitation stands open. The veil is torn. The access is granted, but you must invite him. Not as a guest to visit on Sundays, but as the Lord of the house. You must be willing to let him renovate, to tear down the walls of pride, to throw out the furniture of sin, to take total control. It is a dangerous prayer, but it is the only one that leads to life. So, I ask you tonight, is the fire burning, or has it gone out? Do not settle for the memory of warmth. Seek the flame itself. For the days are growing dark, and only those with oil in their lamps will see the bridegroom when he comes. Walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. The choice is yours.